How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas Eve. We say Merry Christmas on this channel. And in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of the holidays, and as we wrap up 2024, we have a big show today. One of our favorite senators, Rand Paul from Kentucky, just released a bombshell report called the Festivus Report 2024. After wrapping up his anti-waste probe, Rand Paul is shining a big fat giant light on where exactly our tax dollars went, who in Congress approved this nonsense, and just how crazy, how insidious some of these projects were. We're going to get into it, but before we do, let me say, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. Also, please consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. Now, let's get into it. For 70 plus years, the federal government has grown larger and larger and larger. But today, this might be the first time we're seeing an opportunity to break the tide. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a crazy, rare moment in history where the machine, the beast that is the US federal government, can actually be shrunk. It can be tamed. And it's all thanks to three key figures. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Doge, for those who don't know, is an outside watchdog group. It's designed to stop the thievery by Washington. The concept is nothing short of brilliant. Elon and X's power, it's awesome. Now, you'll hear naysayers on cable news and politicians claim, Doge won't work. It's not even a real department. To them, I say, good. That's what makes it so brilliant. And we already have proof that it works. Let me explain. Last week, Congress tried to pass a big, fat, giant omnibus bill with 1,500 pages full of bloat and fat. They wanted to sneak it past the American people in the dead of night. They gave lawmakers just a few hours to read all 1,500 pages. But guess what? That was stopped. It was fixed because of Doge and because of X, formerly Twitter. The power of the people on X stopped it dead in its tracks and saved taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. Here's what happened.
Right now in the past 30 or 40 minutes here that they might try to pull this interim spending bill off the floor and maybe just go with a clean bill, unclear what that means for disaster assistance. Here's what happened. A post on X by Elon Musk sent shockwaves through the Capitol. House Republicans were trying to see if they have enough votes to pass the spending bill in the next hour or two. Musk posted that anyone who votes yes should lose their office in 2 years. And lawmakers are scrambling.
The tweets from Musk and others, has that complicated this?
Well, I mean, I think that there's always a lot of interest in what's happening up here, and
this is more than interest. They're telling people if they vote yes, they should be voted out.
the social media world is a part of our politics, and I think members have to expect that. There are going to be a lot of hard votes in the next couple of years.
A member of the House Republican leadership told Fox that Musk is not helping. The lawmaker added that Musk has bigger fish to fry than picking a fight with House Republicans. One source said the bill is now bleeding support from the GOP. When asked how many Democrats the GOP needs to pass the bill, a senior aide replied, quote, a lot.
Elon Musk bought Twitter because that's the only way we would even know what's in this bill. Otherwise, the conspiracy between the government and Twitter would have continued, and this would have all been covered up. But the fact is that Elon Musk exposing this meant that every one of our officers was inundated with calls from our constituents. The American public wanted to see this change. Donald Trump was speaking on behalf of the American public. Again, he's just the president-elect. The current president is AWOL, but Donald Trump stepped up and said, look, this is what needs to happen. And I think all of my constituents were there, or the calls at least that I got in my office. Elon Musk's transparency helped make that happen.
Well, I think as a senator voting, I presume that you do your best to read the bills that you're voting on. I understand it was quite large at the beginning, but to say that it was only Elon Musk that made people aware of what was in it, that can't be true.
No, I'm not saying it was only Elon Musk. We're all struggling to read it, to digest an over 1,500-page bill that we were literally given just hours to comb through.
Elon Musk bought Twitter, now X, because it was the only way the American people would ever know what's buried in these bills. If Musk hadn't exposed this, the old conspiracy between the federal government and Twitter would have continued. This would have been covered up. Instead, because of X, lawmakers' offices were inundated with calls from constituents. The American people saw what was in the bill, and they made their voices heard. Donald Trump stepped up. He said, "This is what needs to happen." And even though he's just the president-elect, because our current president is AWOL, he's speaking on behalf of the American people. Trump's leadership and Elon Musk's transparency changed the course of history. Let's talk about what was actually buried in that 1,500-page spending bill. 1. 40% pay increase for Congress. Congress members make $174,000 per year, and they tried to increase that to $243,000 per year. 2. $200 billion diverted from Social Security. Congress constantly borrows from Social Security, but never pays it back. 3. Bill Gates' mosquito abatement project. Yep, that's in there too. Shocking that Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson tried to sneak this past us, but it didn't work.
And to that end, that is why you had lots of drama over the week, this past week, with critics circling the wagon around Mike Johnson. You just said he doesn't have a spine, and you tweeted out this week. The Speaker of the House need not be a member of Congress. Nothing would disrupt the swamp more than electing Elon Musk. Think about it, you write. Nothing's impossible, not to mention the joy at seeing the collective establishment, a.k.a. the Uniparty, lose their ever-loving minds. Were you serious about this, considering Elon Musk for Speaker?
You know, it might have been a little tongue-in-cheek. I think Elon's got some important stuff to do, building rockets and making Teslas, but I do appreciate his input, and he has changed the debate. He's drawing attention to the things I've been talking about for a decade, the waste. Tomorrow we'll be celebrating Festivus, you know, the made-up Seinfeld holiday. But in that, we will be talking about a lot of the waste we've talked, ridiculous, crazy things. For example, $760 million spent at the NIH on diversity, equity, inclusion. I thought they were studying science over there. Nope, it's about race. That's crazy. $600,000 to discuss why there are microaggressions among obese Latinx. What does that even mean? Even Latin American people think Latinx is a stupid term. These are people who can't figure out their gender, Latinx, who are fat, who are having microaggressions against each other. This is the insanity. This is why we can't rest until we cut spending, and we can't just raise the debt ceiling without actually cutting spending.
Yeah, I look forward to your list tomorrow on this Festivus holiday, the made-up holiday, where you're going to come up with all of that. That's incredible, that list that you just gave us right there.
Doge and X stopped it. Now, let's talk about Rand Paul's Festivus Report 2024. Senator Rand Paul dropped the bombshell report exposing over $1 trillion in wasteful government spending this year alone. Let me repeat that. $1 trillion. That's money that Donald Trump can cut immediately without touching the military, Social Security, or Medicare. Here's some of what was exposed in this year's report. 1. Las Vegas. Pickleball complex. $12 million of taxpayer money was spent on a pickleball complex in Vegas. $2.760 million wasted at the National Institutes of Health on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. They're supposed to study science, not race politics. 3. Lonely rats and cocaine. $419,000 was spent to study whether lonely rats prefer cocaine more than happy rats. Spoiler alert, yes, they do. 4. Cat COVID experiments. $2.24 million was spent infecting healthy cats with COVID, just to euthanize them after observing their suffering.
More likely to abstain from cocaine than rats in negative and isolating environments. Now, we're going to get to why this is just so ridiculous, but hold on. Researchers first placed rats in small compartments and injected them with cocaine to create a positive association with that location. The rats were then divided into different test groups. One group was allowed to socialize and had substantial access to food and toys. The other group was kept in isolation with no toys and limited access to food. Here's where it gets good. They say, following this project, following this experiment, following lockdowns, NYU determined the isolation of people led to increased levels of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and drug usage. Watchers, $300,000 to ensure bird watching is DEI friendly, and there are safe spaces for affinity groups. $20 million on the Fertilize Right initiative to advance fertilizer use in Pakistan, Vietnam, Colombia, and Brazil. $20 million. But here's where it gets really bad twisted. Fauci-funded feline cove experiments. Once again, Dr. Anthony Fauci, Rand Paul says, and his NIAID are experimenting on animals in the name of science. We all remember Beaglegate, where Dr. Fauci gave $375,000 to a Tunisian dog lab that drugged and locked beagles' heads in mesh cages with biting flies to be eaten alive, all for the essential scientific study, of course. And now, instead of puppies and dogs, Dr. Fauci's targeting kittens and cats. Look at this. Well, this time, Dr. Fauci's NIAID and the USDA spent $2.24 million this year to study whether cats can contract and transmit the cove. The methodology of the experiment requires scientists to infect perfectly healthy cats with cove, watch them suffer through infection for different lengths of time, and then kill them in groups of 4. It's sick and twisted.
Doctor, Fauci's NIAID is back at it again. After the horrifying Beaglegate scandal, where Fauci funded cruel experiments on dogs, this time they're targeting cats. Millions of taxpayer dollars are being used for these sick, twisted experiments. Rand Paul's report exposes it all. Thank you, Senator Rand Paul. This really wasn't a good Christmas present. This was a Christmas present from the Grinch. But we appreciate it anyway. That wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.